Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Sales Manager Academy podcast. As always, I'm your host Omar, and we're talking about leadership and developing your leadership skills in small retail spaces, right? What we can call boutique retail. Think wireless retail, think AV, think appliances, think furniture, think everything outside of what a traditional big box retailer is, where you actually have to have some kind of idea what the fuck you're doing, and your people actually need to understand what they're doing because we're not selling just simple off the shelf components. We're actually building out solutions. We need people that have years of experience to be able to build a complex solution that's gonna stick. And I hear it all the time. My people don't know what they're doing. I have high churn. I'm constantly having to do this or that. I'm working 60, 80 hours a week. I'm working 7 days a week. Even on my days off, I'm still fielding calls. I get it. I've seen it. At one point, I was there. But here's the thing, as a leader, you have to evolve. You have to become better at what you're doing. And you can only do that by making sure your people are getting better. And one of the things I want to talk about today is this notion of goals. We hear it all the time. I see it. And I'm here to tell you that you're doing goals completely fucking wrong. Well, they gotta know what they gotta hit. I gotta tell them, yes, I get that we as an organization, right? The company you work with, the company you run, if you're an owner operator, if you're a regional, if you're an area, district, whatever the case is, okay? Yes, there's certain goals, metrics that need to be met. How they're divvied up is something you need to understand because there's an underlying foundation of what you're going to be missing that's going to ruin everything. So take a look at the metrics. What do the numbers tell you? Okay. They can tell you a lot or they can tell you nothing if you don't know how to read those results. I'll give you an idea. I was talking to a store manager, and one of them, store manager that has reached out for support. And one of the things he asked was like, hey, this is what's going on. I don't understand what I can do to be able to get my revenue up. What can I do? Little conversation, looked at his numbers, looked at his people, and asked a couple simple questions, right? Guess what? One of his new people is fairly young. And I looked at one of the metrics and I was like, hey, what is the conversations that he's having around this? He's like, yeah, he has trouble offering that. I was like, okay, what is it? And you dig in and you find out that you guys hear this all the time. I guarantee you guys see this. He's selling out of his own pockets. Okay. He's making it difficult for himself because he's not offering it because he's thinking, I wouldn't buy this. This is too much for me. Why would I buy this? So I'm not going to offer it unless they ask if they can buy it. And that's a big missed opportunity. And you can say, well, the numbers say he has to offer it, just have him offer it. Cool. That doesn't solve the issue of the underlying reason as to why they're not offering it. So when you set goals and you set, all right, I'm going to blanket the goal for everybody. It doesn't matter how much traffic you get. It doesn't matter how tenured your people are. It doesn't matter how trained and developed your people are. This store with 50% less traffic than this other location, or 30% or 40%, I'm going to set your goal the same as that other location because you guys have to hit, this is what I need you to hit in order for me as the area leader, as the district leader, as the regional, to be able to hit my bonus. Guess what, guys? Nobody fucking cares about your bonus. Your team doesn't care about your fucking bonus. Okay? Your sellers at those locations don't care about your fucking bonus. It doesn't mean anything to them. You get paid. Great. What does that mean to them? What does that mean for their checks? This is why I've always told you guys, steal this line from me. Use it. I want you to make more money by working less. It makes the training and development portion so much easier when your people start to understand that, hey, this individual wants me to be making more money, and they also want me to be working less. They want me to put less effort in and get more out. And guess what? You can only do that if you level up what you're doing. Because in order for something to feel like you're actually doing less of it or it's less effort being outputted, is by becoming better at it. If you're running a mile and you're doing a 13-minute mile and you continuously run a mile, guess what? You're going to be doing sub 7-minute miles in a fairly short period of time. It's not going to take a year, okay? But you're going to get there. And that's what I'm saying about doing small coaching sessions, repeating it over, and continuously doing it over and over again. It's going to make the process easier. So now they're going to be selling more, have better offer rates, have better take rates, and they're going to feel like they're working less. And your customers and clients, your guests, are going to be so much happier because they have competent people that are working with them. They're going to end up coming back. They're going to end up telling people, go to that location, go see this office, because they actually know what the fuck they're talking about. That is what you have to do. And as a leader, if you're throwing just blanket goals out, you need to understand a couple of different patterns of your location. The easiest one is fucking foot traffic, right? We work in very specialized retail spaces. You have to have, as an owner operator, as a regional, as a VP of these organizations, if you do not have a way to track the foot traffic coming in to your locations, you are missing out on a big telltale sign. I've talked about this before, how at a different organization, when I look through, at this point there's hundreds of locations, when I look through the data, and mind you, not all these locations had a, or the ability to track the traffic going into locations, but of the ones that did, which was probably less than 20%, what the numbers told me was that the locations that they thought were doing poorly were actually overperforming on close rates based on the traffic that they were getting in. And the stores that they thought were doing amazing were actually leaving a shitload of opportunity on the table because they were closing at less than 50% of the ideal close rate. Okay? So if 10% is the ideal close rate, those smaller locations or those locations performing badly were closing between 12 to 15%, right? The locations that they deemed were doing great were closing at 4 to 6% when they should have been closer to 10%. So you tell me where there's more opportunity. I could keep pounding that location that is closing at a higher clip, but they have less traffic coming in. Or I can focus my attention on the location that is literally missing 50% of the opportunity. That could be a whole nother fucking location depending on the size. So you have to look at the foot traffic and their close rates. That way you can understand, okay, is this location really underperforming, or am I setting the wrong goals based on that foot traffic? Is this location over here really overperforming, or am I missing out more opportunity because they're not closing everything that they can close based on the opportunities walking in? When you can differentiate that and you can understand those differences, you will understand that, hey, I need to change the way I speak. I need to change up those goals. So instead of doing a blanket goal every single day for each location, okay, this location needs to do this. This location needs to focus on this. And guess what? Use your tools. Back in the day, I used to use Excel. I still use Excel, right? We all fucking hate Excel. But I would use it and I would track the daily foot traffic. And I would map out what days of the week were heavier. And I would break it up on a scale of 100%. If the week, 7 days, equals 100%, what percentage of my foot traffic is coming in on average each day? I would do it for the market, and then I would do it individually for the locations. So I could tell, all right, based on historical data, this is what we should be hitting at as a group, as a market for the day. And this is what each location should be hitting at. And then I would actually go back to the individual leaders, the store managers, and I would let them know, like, hey, based on what we've been doing, based on targets, this is what your target should be. What is your goal? I wouldn't tell them, this is your goal, take it. I would present it to them and I would ask them, what is your goal? Because we all know, right? Whether you're revenue driven and all you're looking at is the bottom line, or whether you're metrics driven and you're looking for specific metrics to be attained every single day, you can then attack that target and be like, okay, that's doable. Or you know what? We can do more because we've been seeing a higher traffic for the last few days. We've been seeing more ability from our sellers, whatever the case is. Okay, you let your local leaders actually take ownership of what they're going to commit to. You've given the information, you've broken it down, and then you let them take ownership of how they're going to attack that and let them get after it. Are they going to come up short? Could be. Are they going to overperform? Could be. But at the end of the day, who's the one that took ownership for it? Who's the one that committed to hitting these particular metrics and goals? As opposed to, remember, if you give them the goal, if they don't hit it, hey, you gave me the goal. I didn't set that. That's not something I thought I could hit. You told me that's what I had to hit, and I tried my best, and that's that. There's a difference in how a person, individuals, in organizations actually get after it when they commit to their own goals and they're the ones who take ownership of what they're going to be attaining. And as a leader, you need to break that down. So if you're giving that location that's overperforming the same goal as a location that actually is overperforming for their foot traffic, it becomes either a joke or it becomes unattainable and a joke in a bad way. I've told you guys how I've taken a location from doing about 250, 350 opportunities to over 700 on a regular off-season monthly basis on average. And during peak holiday season, taking it to about 1,000 plus opportunities consistently. If I gave that location the same goals as one of my locations I was doing about 170 to 220 opportunities, it would be a joke because they're on two different playing fields. They're in two completely different leagues. Same thing if I took the goal for that location and that's what I placed for the higher one. It wouldn't give me my attainment for the market. So I have to be realistic. If you have a regional that gives you those metrics, you guys need to also understand as district managers, as area leaders, that, hey, you can ask for an adjustment like, hey, you know what, based on historical data, this is going to be more realistic. Let's adjust this. Let's move them over here before. Because guess what? I know that they give you that to look over before they approve it. I've been there. And if they're not doing that, you need to be vocal and be like, hey, this is what the data is showing me. This is what we need to do so that we can adjust it properly. Hey, this location, yes, they're doing good based on what we're giving them, but their close rates are at 6% when they should be at 10% based on the traffic coming in. Their goal should be higher because we have a lot of opportunity missing. Okay. Now, keep in mind, that is part of the conversation. The other part of that coin is, yes, you can give them a higher goal because they're missing out on that opportunity, right? They're not closing at the highest close rate. But then the other reason becomes, why are they not closing at that close rate? That means we're not training and developing our people. We're missing a lot based on what these are showing. What can we do to correct that? That is what you need to focus on. That is why training and developing is such an important foundation of what we do as leaders. If you're not doing that, not only are you missing out, that also means a lot of your sellers aren't getting paid. And they're getting pissed and they will leave. This is why if you have a 70% churn rate, 70 to 80% churn rate, that's why it's an issue. That's why you're having trouble getting people to actually stick around and know what the fuck they're doing. Remember, guys, it takes about a year for people to be about 80 to 90% confident in the skills and what they're doing You might think, oh yeah, they got it after 2, 3 months. No, no, they don't, because there's a lot of things that are going to pop up. There's going to be scenarios that they don't know what to do. And there are going to be larger deals that come through that they won't be able to handle on their own. And they're just going to fuck it up. And then that's going to go to their reputation. That client, that customer, that guest will never walk back into your location if they did business with you. And that is the truth of it. So you have to skill up your people. You have to train them up. You have to help them become better at what they're doing. And you have to stop looking at your wallet and you have to start focusing on theirs. Because when they're performing and they're making money, you're guaranteed as an area, district, regional to be making money. So stop worrying about your paycheck. Nobody cares about your fucking paycheck once you're in those leadership roles. Focus on caring about your people's paychecks. And you're going to see how different not only will their performance be, not only how much better their pay will be, but also how yours as a leader will also turn out. Because at the end of the day, my focus is making sure you guys are making money because that's how I get paid. That's what the mindset should be like. Not, you guys need to hit this because I need to hit my goal. Nobody cares about your fucking goal at that leadership level. Your people care about their checks. So focus the attention on them. Make that small pivot and focus on training and developing your people and make those goals adjustments. Make them as you see fit. Adjust them proportionately to who's actually performing based on traffic to the ones who are not performing based on traffic. And focus on the stores that are not performing. Because guess what? If you have a store that's closing at 12 to 15% and the goal is 10%, what more can you offer them to be doing better? Okay? You can't squeeze much more out of that. But that location that's closing at 4 to 6%, we have so much opportunity when they should be closing at 10% close rate. There is so much opportunity still left that they're letting just walk. It could be because of staffing. It more than likely is because we just don't have the proper trained individuals there. So you need to focus on their development. Guys, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know your thoughts. Drop it in the comments. Send me a DM. As always, don't forget, hit that like, subscribe button. Thanks again for stepping into another episode here at the Sales Manager Academy podcast. And I'll catch you on the next one.